Human life carries a deep inner tension that never leaves us. We plan, we strive, we struggle, yet so much arrives beyond our control. We work hard and still face loss. We pray sincerely and still wait. We choose carefully and still meet results we did not expect. This tension lives quietly inside every person, whether they speak about it or not. Some feel that everything is already set beyond human influence, while others feel that life bends only through personal effort. Both feelings rise naturally from lived experience, and both feel incomplete when taken alone. This is why the subject of free will and cosmic determinism refuses to fade, because it touches meaning, responsibility, patience, effort, trust, and hope all at once. People are not searching for comfort here. They're searching for something that can stand firm inside real life, something that does not collapse when effort fails or success arrives. Science looks at the universe and finds order everywhere. Motion follows measure, growth follows conditions, events follow causes. From the movement of stars to the working of the human brain, patterns appear stable and dependable. This led many thinkers to believe that if every cause were known, every result could be known as well, including human action. The brain is physical, signals pass through it, and choices seem to rise from these processes. From this view, human action appears tied to nature rather than standing apart from it. Yet science itself later revealed limits to complete prediction. At the smallest scale, outcomes cannot always be fixed in advance. Likelihood replaces certainty. This does not grant full human control, but it does break the idea of a universe locked into rigid inevitability. Order exists, but absolute control over results does not. Islam enters this space with clarity and balance. Allah possesses complete knowledge of all that occurs, without limit or delay. Yet knowledge does not equal compulsion. The Quran speaks to humans as responsible beings, accountable for what they do, rewarded for effort, and held answerable for harm. Accountability would be meaningless if humans had no ability to act with intention. Islam teaches that everything exists within a measure set by Allah, including time, ability, and outcome, while human effort operates within that measure. A person does not command results, but effort is never dismissed. This balance protects the heart from pride during success and from collapse during hardship. You are not powerless, and you are not supreme. You act, you strive, and you rely upon the divine for what unfolds. This understanding does not weaken effort. It gives effort dignity, meaning, and direction. People often ask why effort matters if divine knowledge already covers everything. This confusion comes from mixing knowledge with control. Knowing an outcome does not mean forcing it. A teacher may know which student studied and which did not, yet the effort still belongs to the student. In the same way, Allah's knowledge surrounds time completely, while human action still rises from intention and decision. The Quran repeatedly connects reward and consequence to what people do, not to what was known about them. This shows that human action is real, meaningful, and counted, even though nothing escapes divine awareness. When a person lifts their hands in prayer or works toward a goal, that action itself is part of what Allah already knows, not something that fights against it. This is why prayer holds power in Islam. Prayer is not an attempt to inform Allah, nor is it an attempt to change divine awareness. Prayer changes the one who prays. It shapes intention, sharpens resolve, and places the heart in alignment with what is good. From the Islamic view, effort and prayer move together. One without the other is incomplete. Depending only on effort leads to exhaustion and pride, while depending only on prayer without action leads to neglect. Islam places humans in the middle, acting with sincerity while trusting that results unfold by divine wisdom beyond human reach. Science also supports this balance more than people realize. The human brain does not act like a simple chain of reactions. Intention influences behavior. Learning reshapes neural patterns, and discipline alters future response. A person who trains patience becomes more patient. A person who practices generosity becomes more generous. This shows that human choice leaves real marks over time. While biology sets limits, it does not erase responsibility. Within limits, growth happens. Within limits, restraint happens. Within limits, transformation happens. Islam does not deny limits. It teaches acceptance of what cannot be controlled while demanding accountability for what can. You're not asked about what was beyond your reach. You're asked about what you did with what you were given. Time, strength, awareness, and opportunity differ among people, and justice accounts for this difference. This removes comparison and restores fairness. No soul is burdened beyond its capacity, and no sincere effort is ignored, even when results appear small. This understanding heals an inner struggle many people carry. When life unfolds against expectation, despair whispers that effort is useless. When success arrives, pride whispers that it was earned alone. Both whispers distort reality. Islam cuts through both. It teaches that effort matters deeply, and outcome belongs fully to Allah. This truth steadies the heart. It keeps a person moving forward without losing humility, trusting without surrendering responsibility. In this balance, human dignity is preserved, and divine greatness remains untouched. At the heart of this discussion stands justice, because without justice, neither belief nor reason can survive. Every human instinctively knows that praise and blame must be earned. No one accepts being rewarded for something they never did, and no one accepts being held responsible for something they never had control over. This inner sense of fairness is not learned from books. It lives inside the human core. Islam speaks directly to this inner awareness by placing accountability only where ability exists. A person is not judged for what they could not do, could not know, or could not prevent. They are judged for intention, effort, and conduct within the reach they were given. This makes justice possible without denying divine authority. If human action were meaningless, then moral responsibility would collapse completely. Commands would lose meaning, warnings would lose purpose, and reward would become random. Islam rejects this completely. The Quran repeatedly ties outcome to action, not as an illusion, but as a real connection. When people act with care, patience, and honesty, those actions matter. When people harm, neglect, or deceive, those actions also matter. Divine knowledge surrounding these actions does not erase their reality. It simply means that nothing occurs outside awareness. Justice remains intact because choice remains intact. This is where many misunderstand the relationship between destiny and effort. Destiny is not a rigid force dragging humans forward. It is a complete awareness of all that unfolds, including every choice made freely. From a human side, life moves step by step. From the divine side, all steps are already known without limiting how they are taken. These two views do not collide. They exist at different levels. One belongs to lived experience, the other belongs to complete awareness. Confusion only arises when people try to force one level to replace the other. Science, when observed honestly, does not destroy this view. While physical laws shape the world, human beings do not live as passive objects within those laws. Learning changes behavior. Discipline reshapes habits. Reflection alters future response. These are not illusions. They are observable realities. A person raised in hardship can still choose integrity. A person surrounded by comfort can still choose generosity. Conditions influence, but they do not fully dictate. This is why societies function on responsibility, not inevitability. Courts, ethics, and trust all rely on the belief that people could have acted differently. Islam strengthens this understanding by grounding it in purpose. Life is not random movement within rules. It is a meaningful test of conduct and intention. This does not mean every event feels fair or easy. Many things arrive that humans would never choose for themselves. Islam does not deny pain or struggle. It teaches how to respond within them. Response is where accountability lives. Two people can face the same hardship and walk away with very different outcomes based on how they act within it. One may grow patient and generous. Another may grow bitter and harmful. The event may be shared, but the response is personal. This understanding also protects people from self-destruction. When failure comes, Islam does not allow a person to say, "Nothing mattered." Effort still counted. Intention still counted. When success comes, Islam does not allow a person to claim full ownership. Gratitude replaces arrogance. This balance keeps the heart stable. It prevents collapse during hardship and excess during ease. It teaches humans to stand upright without forgetting dependence on the one who controls all results. Justice in Islam is not blind to difference. People are not equal in strength, knowledge, or opportunity. Some begin with more, some with less. Judgment accounts for this. A small act done with sincerity can outweigh a large act done with pride. A quiet restraint can outweigh loud achievement. This reassures people who feel unseen, unheard, or delayed. Nothing sincere is wasted. Nothing honest is ignored. Divine justice does not mirror human standards of success. It measures something deeper and more precise. When this balance is understood, the inner conflict between effort and trust dissolves. A person works without desperation and trusts without passivity. They accept outcomes without surrendering responsibility. They improve without claiming control over everything. This creates a grounded human being, one who moves through life with calm strength, aware that every sincere action has meaning even when results remain hidden. This is not a compromise between faith and reason. It is their meeting point. Reason accepts responsibility because it observes intention shaping behavior. Faith accepts responsibility because it grounds justice in divine wisdom. Together, they form a complete view of human life, where effort is dignified, outcomes are trusted, and justice remains unbroken. When people truly absorb this balance between human effort and divine control, something deep changes inside them. Fear no longer dominates the mind in the same way. Many fears grow from the belief that everything rests on personal strength alone. When people think they must control every outcome, pressure grows heavy, mistakes feel unbearable, and uncertainty feels threatening. Islam gently removes this burden without removing responsibility. A person is asked to act with sincerity and care, not to guarantee results. This releases fear while preserving discipline. You work, you try, you remain honest, and then you leave what unfolds to Allah with trust rather than anxiety. Hope also transforms under this understanding. Hope is no longer tied only to visible success. It becomes rooted in meaning. Even when effort does not bring the results someone wanted, hope remains alive because value is not erased. What was done with honesty still matters. What was attempted with good intention still holds worth. This prevents despair, especially during long periods of difficulty. A person does not feel erased by delay. They do not feel unseen. They understand that worth is not measured only by outcome, but by how they stood within what they faced. Daily life becomes steadier when this truth settles in the heart. Small choices regain importance. How one speaks, how one treats others, how one responds to stress, how one manages desire, all become meaningful. Life no longer feels like a random sequence where only major events count. Every moment holds weight because every moment includes intention. This brings focus without obsession. People become more mindful without becoming tense. They recognize that what they control is limited, but what they influence through conduct is constant. This balance also reshapes how people view struggle. Difficulty is no longer seen only as punishment or failure. It becomes a space where character is revealed. Two people may face the same hardship, yet one grows steadier while the other grows restless. The difference lies not in what arrived, but in how it was met. Islam places value here, in response rather than circumstance. This does not romanticize pain. It gives pain meaning without glorifying it. A person is allowed to seek ease while remaining patient when ease does not arrive. Purpose becomes clearer under this view. Life is not about controlling the universe, nor about surrendering into passivity. It is about acting with awareness, sincerity, and responsibility within limits set by the divine. This purpose gives direction without arrogance. A person does not feel lost when plans change. They adjust without losing dignity. They remain active without becoming rigid. This flexibility is not weakness. It is wisdom born from understanding how effort and trust coexist. Relationships also improve when this balance is lived. People stop expecting perfection from others. They recognize limits in themselves and in those around them. Forgiveness becomes easier because not every failure is seen as deliberate harm. Accountability remains, but harsh judgment softens. Compassion grows without erasing standards. This creates healthier bonds and calmer communities. Most importantly, this understanding reconnects humans to Allah in a living way. Trust becomes real, not symbolic. Worship becomes sincere, not transactional. A person turns toward Allah not only for rescue, but for alignment, guidance, and steadiness. This connection strengthens effort rather than replacing it. The heart finds rest without the mind becoming idle. In this way, free will and divine measure no longer compete. They work together. One gives responsibility, the other gives peace. One keeps humans upright, the other keeps them grounded. Together, they shape a life that moves forward with purpose, patience, and inner stability, even when the world remains uncertain. When all of this is held together, a clearer picture of human life begins to appear. Humans are not drifting without meaning, and they are not rulers over everything either. They live within a reality shaped by divine wisdom, yet they move within it through intention and effort. This understanding removes confusion that has troubled people for generations. Life is no longer seen as a cruel setup where effort is pointless, nor as a personal conquest where everything depends on strength alone. It becomes a space where action carries meaning and trust carries peace. This view changes how people measure success. Success is no longer only about arrival at a desired result. It becomes about honesty in effort, care in conduct, and patience in waiting. A person may work hard and still not receive what they hoped for, yet they are not defeated. Their value remains intact because their effort was sincere. Another person may reach a goal quickly, yet they're reminded that ease does not come from personal power alone. Gratitude naturally replaces pride. This reshaping of success protects people from bitterness and from arrogance at the same time. Time itself feels different under this understanding. People stop rushing with panic and stop delaying with neglect. They act when action is needed and remain calm when waiting is required. Regret loses its sharp edge because the past is no longer seen as proof of failure, but as a record of learning and intention. The future also loses its grip over the heart. Planning remains important, yet worry no longer dominates. A person prepares while trusting that what unfolds will unfold with wisdom beyond their sight. This balance also gives courage. Courage does not come from believing that nothing can go wrong. It comes from knowing that even when things go wrong, effort still holds worth. A person can take responsibility without being crushed by fear. They can speak truth without being paralyzed by outcome. They can choose integrity even when reward is not guaranteed. This kind of courage is quiet but strong, steady rather than dramatic, and deeply rooted in trust. Faith itself becomes more alive under this view. Belief is no longer distant or abstract. It enters daily decisions, small actions, and silent intentions. Trust in Allah is not an excuse to stop striving, and striving is not a reason to forget reliance on Allah. Both remain present together. This harmony gives the heart steadiness and gives the mind clarity. Doubt weakens when belief is lived rather than argued. For the audience watching, this understanding offers relief without lowering standards. It tells them that their effort matters even when unseen. It tells them that their struggles are not signs of abandonment. It tells them that they are not alone in carrying responsibility, nor are they abandoned to chance. Life becomes something to engage with fully, not something to fear or control completely. In this meeting of human responsibility and divine measure, something powerful emerges. Meaning stays alive. Justice remains intact. Hope survives delay. Discipline remains honored. Trust becomes real. This is not a theory meant to stay distant. It is a truth meant to be lived, felt, and carried quietly through everyday choices. As this understanding settles, life no longer feels like a struggle between control and surrender. It becomes a relationship between effort and trust. A person wakes up knowing that what they do today matters, even if the result is not visible today. They move through the world with responsibility in their hands and reliance in their heart. This combination gives strength without hardness and softness without weakness. It allows a person to stand firm without becoming rigid and to remain gentle without becoming passive. This view also reshapes how people face uncertainty. The unknown no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes a space where trust lives. Humans were never meant to see everything ahead. If they did, effort would lose sincerity and trust would lose meaning. Not knowing everything keeps intention pure. It keeps action honest. A person moves forward not because success is guaranteed, but because doing what is right remains valuable on its own. Islam teaches that life is not about constant ease, nor about endless struggle. It is about remaining upright across changing conditions. Ease tests gratitude. Difficulty tests patience. Both reveal what lives inside the human heart. Free will is not about controlling fate. It is about choosing how to respond within what arrives. Divine measure is not about removing responsibility. It is about placing responsibility within wisdom far greater than human sight. When people live with this understanding, they stop arguing with reality. They accept what cannot be changed and work on what can. They stop wasting energy on resentment and start investing it in growth. They stop blaming destiny for neglect and stop blaming themselves for what was never theirs to carry. This balance heals inner conflict and restores peace without dulling ambition. At its core, this truth invites humans to live fully present, not trapped in regret, not consumed by expectation, but engaged with the moment they are given. Each action becomes a quiet offering. Each effort becomes a sign of trust. Each pause becomes an act of patience rather than defeat. Life gains depth without becoming heavy. This is where science and faith stop opposing each other. Science explains how things unfold. Faith explains why effort still matters. One describes order, the other preserves meaning. Together, they allow humans to live responsibly without losing humility. Neither cancels the other. Each stays in its place. In the end, free will and divine measure are not rivals. They are partners in shaping human life. One gives direction to action. The other gives peace to outcome. One keeps humans accountable. The other keeps them hopeful. When both are held together, life becomes something to walk through with steadiness rather than fear. This is the truth people feel but struggle to name. A truth that does not shout, does not overwhelm, and does not demand blind acceptance. It simply fits the human condition as it is. Effort with meaning, trust with dignity, responsibility without despair, reliance without escape. And when a person lives this way, they no longer ask whether life is controlled or free. They live as if effort matters and trust never fails. When this understanding matures inside a person, it quietly reshapes how they see themselves. Identity is no longer built only on success, status, or recognition. A person begins to value sincerity over display and effort over outcome. They stop measuring their worth by how fast things move or how others respond. Instead, they measure it by honesty in intention and steadiness in action. This creates inner stability that does not depend on approval or control. Even when life feels uncertain, the self remains grounded. This outlook also changes how mistakes are handled. Errors no longer feel like proof of failure or rejection. They become signs of being human within limits. A person learns corrects, and continues without drowning in regret. Responsibility remains, but mercy surrounds it. Islam does not teach perfection. It teaches return, growth, and consistency. This allows people to move forward without denying accountability and without destroying themselves emotionally. Gratitude deepens under this view. Gratitude is no longer limited to moments of ease. It appears even during difficulty, not because hardship is pleasant, but because awareness remains alive. A person recognizes what still exists within struggle: the ability to act rightly, the ability to remain patient, the ability to seek guidance. These abilities themselves become reasons for thankfulness. Gratitude shifts from reaction to attitude. This balance also influences how people face others. Judgment softens without disappearing. A person understands that everyone acts within pressures and limits they may never see. This does not excuse harm, but prevents cruelty. Accountability remains, yet compassion grows alongside it. This creates strength in character rather than harshness. Communities become healthier when responsibility and mercy exist together. Faith, under this understanding, stops being distant or conditional. It becomes woven into daily movement, work, restraint, and intention. Trust in Allah does not wait for crisis. It stays present in ordinary moments. This steady connection removes loneliness even when challenges remain. A person does not feel abandoned when outcomes differ from desire. They feel accompanied, supported by wisdom greater than their own understanding. As this truth settles further, ambition becomes cleaner. Goals remain important, but obsession fades. A person aims high while accepting delay. They pursue excellence without becoming consumed by control. This kind of ambition builds rather than burns. It sustains effort across time without exhausting the heart. In this state, life feels meaningful without needing constant reassurance. A person walks forward knowing that what they do carries weight, even when unseen, and that what unfolds carries wisdom, even when unclear. This quiet certainty does not demand proof at every step. It rests in alignment between effort and trust. And in that alignment, a human being finally feels whole, acting fully while relying deeply, standing responsible without standing alone. With this understanding alive inside them, people begin to experience a quiet confidence that does not need constant proof. They stop fighting life as if it were an opponent and stop surrendering as if they were powerless. Instead, they meet each moment with awareness and responsibility. They act where action is needed and remain patient where waiting is required. This steadiness does not come from certainty about results, but from clarity about purpose. A person knows why they are acting, even when the result remains hidden. This clarity reshapes daily discipline. Small acts gain meaning. Kindness offered without recognition, restraint practiced without praise, honesty maintained without reward all become powerful. A person no longer needs the world to confirm their value. Their value is rooted in alignment with what is right. This frees them from chasing validation and from fearing neglect. Life becomes something to live from the inside rather than perform for the outside. Hope also becomes more resilient. It no longer rises and falls sharply with circumstances. It rests on the understanding that nothing sincere is wasted. Even when progress feels slow, hope remains steady because effort still carries meaning. This kind of hope does not rush outcomes. It waits without giving up and works without panic. It allows people to remain engaged without becoming desperate. This view also deepens patience in a natural way. Patience is no longer forced or passive. It becomes an active state of trust, paired with continued responsibility. A person remains present, alert, and engaged even while waiting. They do not freeze, and they do not rush blindly. They stay balanced, adjusting when needed and continuing forward when possible. As people live this way, inner peace grows without dulling awareness. They feel emotions fully without being ruled by them. Joy is welcomed without fear of loss. Sadness is allowed without despair. Life feels complete in its range rather than broken by extremes. This emotional balance is not learned through control, but through acceptance of limits combined with meaningful action. Connection with Allah also deepens quietly here. Worship becomes less about seeking immediate change and more about staying aligned. A person turns toward Allah not only when they need rescue, but because connection itself brings steadiness. This presence strengthens resolve and softens the heart at the same time. Faith stops being reactive and becomes constant. In this space, life is no longer lived in opposition to destiny or blind submission to it. A person participates fully, aware that every sincere action has weight and every outcome carries wisdom beyond immediate sight. This participation brings dignity. It reminds humans that they matter, and it reminds them that they are supported. This is where the journey settles, not in absolute certainty, but in grounded understanding. A way of living where responsibility is honored, reliance is steady, and meaning remains alive through every stage of life. As this way of seeing life settles fully, a person no longer feels divided inside. The mind stops pulling in one direction while the heart pulls in another. Effort and trust no longer argue within. They support each other. A person works with seriousness, yet their inner state remains calm. They care deeply, yet they are not consumed. This inner unity is rare, and when it appears, it changes how life is lived from the inside out. This unity reshapes how time is experienced. The past is no longer a place of punishment. It becomes a source of understanding. What went wrong is not denied, but it is no longer used as a weapon against the self. Lessons remain, growth continues, and movement does not stop. The future also loses its power to dominate. Planning remains, but fear loosens its grip. A person prepares responsibly while accepting that not everything can be shaped ahead of time. This understanding also brings honesty. People stop pretending that they control everything, and they stop pretending that nothing is in their hands. They admit effort when effort is needed and admit dependence when dependence is real. This honesty brings relief. The weight of false control drops, and the emptiness of passivity disappears. What remains is a balanced sense of responsibility that feels human and livable. Moral strength grows naturally here. Right and wrong are no longer treated as abstract ideas. They become lived commitments. A person chooses fairness even when it costs comfort. They choose restraint even when no one is watching. These choices are not made for reward alone, nor from fear alone. They are made because alignment with what is right feels necessary for inner peace. This kind of strength does not need applause. This view also reshapes endurance. When difficulty lasts longer than expected, a person does not immediately assume meaning has vanished. They continue to act with care, even when answers remain delayed. Endurance becomes a steady presence rather than a dramatic effort. It holds without collapsing and continues without bitterness. At this stage, reliance on Allah feels natural rather than forced. Trust does not need constant reassurance. It exists quietly, like a steady foundation beneath action. A person turns to Allah with openness rather than desperation, with sincerity rather than bargaining. This deepens connection and reduces inner noise. Life, under this understanding, feels neither random nor suffocating. It feels guided without being restrictive. A person moves through events with awareness, knowing that their role is to act with integrity and leave the unfolding beyond that to wisdom greater than their own. This removes confusion without removing responsibility. By this point, the question is no longer whether free will or divine measure dominates. The lived answer becomes clear through experience. Humans act with intention. Allah governs ochomes. Both remain true without canceling each other. And in this truth, a person finds steadiness strong enough to carry them through whatever comes next. In the final view, life reveals itself as a collaboration between human effort and divine wisdom. A person realizes that their actions matter deeply, that their choices carry weight, and that their sincerity is never wasted. At the same time, they see that outcomes are held within the awareness of Allah, who knows fully and guides without forcing. This truth removes the burden of illusion, that either they are fully in control or entirely powerless. Both extremes dissolve, leaving a middle path that is alive, steady, and full of meaning. This understanding gives courage to act without fear, patience to endure without despair, and clarity to move without confusion. Humans become fully present in each moment, seeing the value of intention in every word, thought, and effort. The ordinary becomes sacred because every choice now carries responsibility and every effort carries significance. Life itself becomes a field where purpose and trust grow together. It also restores the heart. Pride softens because success is not theirs alone. Regret eases because past missteps are neither punishment nor erasure. They are part of learning and refinement. Fear diminishes because the unknown is no longer an enemy, but a space where trust lives alongside action. Hope remains steady and alive because even unseen effort matters and every sincere intention counts. This balance shapes how humans treat others as well. Compassion grows alongside accountability. Understanding emerges alongside fairness. Judgments are measured by context rather than impulse. Relationships strengthen because people no longer expect perfection nor demand the impossible. Communities thrive when responsibility and mercy exist together. Science and faith, often seen in conflict, here meet naturally. Science explains the patterns, the limits, the influence of conditions. Faith explains the meaning, the purpose, the weight of intention, and the wisdom behind what unfolds. One describes how life moves, the other explains why it matters. Together, they offer a complete vision, one that satisfies reason and nourishes the heart. When a person lives in this balance, they no longer ask whether life is controlled or free. They act as though effort matters because it does. They trust as though outcome is guided because it is. They walk through each day with dignity and purpose, knowing that they are responsible, yet never alone, and that their path carries significance even when it is unseen. This is the truth that touches both mind and heart. It frees people from extremes of fear and pride, from despair and arrogance. It honors human action while embracing divine wisdom. It holds both responsibility and trust as inseparable companions. And when a person carries this understanding, they live fully alive, steadily, meaningfully, and deeply connected to the source of all. In this realization, life is no longer a struggle between opposing forces. It becomes a journey of balance where free will and divine measure walk together, shaping each moment with intention, guiding each step with wisdom, and filling existence with meaning that endures beyond every fleeting circumstance.